Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
I'm Scott.
I'm John.
And we're married.
Look at that.
This is a knitting podcast, the SweetTeaNoShade knitting podcast. This is not a podcast about the polar vortex.
Which is back.
Or about the most snow on record. Snowiest February on record for Minnesota.
I know. With, 4 more days left and more snow coming.
And more snow. Well, yeah, but I think it's going to be like a trace amount of snow.
Here's hoping.
So thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us today. We're going to follow our normal, typical pattern that we have in our podcasts, which is we're going to start off by reviewing comments and connecting with you guys, because that's what we like to do. What are you doing? You're acting weird.
I'm looking. I was gonna do a little project while we were doing our podcast, but I don't have the right kind of needles for it. So
well, somebody in here specifically mentions that they like that you knit during the show because it makes them feel like it's we're all hanging out together.
All right.
So
well,
if you could get on that.
Let me find the correct. I need one of the weavy in needles.
Okay, so we found the needle that John needed. And so I am going to put a link in the comments so that you can skip forward if you want to, although in the past I've said to the knitting content, but the comments, there's a lot of knitting content in the comments, actually. It's not just about...
It's not a shout out to our friend.
Right.
So we try to,
So last podcast was a little...
Different
because we had viewers. Last podcast was different because we had viewers. No, what I meant to say was that we had winners of our knit along. And so to the 3 winners of the knit along, the prizes are going to be on their way shortly. I intended to get them in the mail. I've got everybody's address, and I sat down and was putting the packages together and printing the labels and everything and got distracted, but they're coming.
Yep.
So anyway, and we didn't have as much showing off of our knitting and stuff like that. We've got plenty of that today.
Yeah, it's weird because we didn't really talk about our knitting last time. I'm reaching way back into the Wayback Machine for stuff. I'm like, didn't we show that? I'm like, no.
Well, and also, I don't know if you didn't really have this problem, but we did this whole finish it cowl, and I ended up finished my finish it project, and then I cast on 19 things. Not really, but I cast on a few things. Yeah. And guess what? They're mostly socks, but they're still interesting.
Surprise!
Okay, so reviewing our comments from our last episode, Jay Brown is a new watcher from Ontario, Canada. So thank you for joining us. What do we know about Ontario?
We've been there.
Ontario?
Yeah. It's right across from Niagara Falls.
Oh, yeah, we have. Okay.
We actually drove, we did a trip through...
through over Niagara Falls and then over the bottom part of Canada down into the upper peninsula of Michigan and into Minnesota.
Which is mostly Ontario, I think.
Yeah, and Alberta. Joanne Pommier says that she's a newish subscriber, but she didn't tell us where you're from. That's my favorite part, so you have to tell us where you're from.
With Pommier, I'm assuming she's a provincial French housewife from the south of France.
Okay.
Probably the French Riviera, and she lives in this...
What if she's from Monaco?
I love it.
And we could come stay in her castle.
Yes.
Okay, so then Eventual Knits commented and said that she's a new watcher as of January, and she lives in the Twin Cities as well. And I think Eventual Knits, I think you and I connected on Instagram earlier today because I had posted pictures of the monster cats, and you had said something about how windy it was. And I can't remember what your Instagram name was, but anyway, glad to connect with you. And she goes to Stephen B regularly. And she's a part of the 9-inch circular cult.
Nice.
Which is important.
Yeah,
So Lou Nickel is a new viewer from Scotland.
Cool.
And wondered if we're ever going to go to the Edinburgh Yarn Festival.
Yes.
We're definitely going.
We're definitely going. I went to Scotland.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you'd been to
Scotland. Long, maybe 9 years ago. It was right before we got together-ish.
Yeah, it would have been about 10 years ago.
About 10 years ago with my mom, and I have wanted to go back ever since. It's so pretty.
Yeah.
Like, we were watching Outlander, and Scott was like, is that what Scotland actually looks like? I'm like, no, actually it's more beautiful.
Yeah.
So...
Do any of you guys watch The Outlander?
We watch it mostly
We're
for
like
the
way
knitting.
behind. Yeah. No, we're way behind on the episode. We're like on season 2 or something.
No, we're on the second part of season 1.
Oh my god, are you serious?
Yeah, they released the first season in like 2 parts.
Holy cow.
Yeah, so we're...
I promise I'm going to stop scratching my nose. I promise. I've just got a weird sneezing fit today. Okay. Amy Kensington said that she watched. Sounds like she did a little bit of binge watching. Bought a bag from the Rusted Stitch, who had donated. Joined our Ravelry page, which we don't really do that much with. We do stuff for the knit-alongs, but I'm woefully inept when it comes to doing anything with the Ravelry page. And then she also wants to do the Bachelor or Bachelorette knit-along. I feel like that's gonna have to happen.
It's gonna have to happen. It's
because we've got a Bachelor right now, so
yeah. So, but that's almost done. They're in hometowns.
Oh, that's right. So once they're done with
Bachelorette,
then we'll go on to Bachelor. Then there'll be a Bachelorette,
right? And then we can actually do a Bachelor in Paradise where you can only.
Oh, that one! I don't want to do that one.
No, we can make it like fun. Like you only buy something, do something that you. I don't know.
Because what we could do is we could have Bachelor review episodes that coincide, like non-knitting. I mean, they'll be knitting, but they're like Bachelor review episodes.
Okay.
I don't know. We're just thinking at the
We're spitballing.
Okay, so then Janet Pingray commented. She's from North Carolina. And we kept showing up as recommended podcasts for her.
Yay.
And she lives in an area kind of like Mom where she doesn't have any yarn shops.
Okay.
Or independent yarn shops, I guess, is the best way to say it, except for the big box stores and no knitting groups. So she watches podcasts. And she said, I did read and watch the video for The Secret with great skepticism and humor. So I think that was the point I was trying to portray when I was talking about The Secret in the last episode where I might have had a little bit too much to drink. Lesson learned, it takes 9 times the amount of time to edit a video where I've been drinking.
Yeah, but it's also 9 times more hilarious.
No, it's not. It's 9 times more embarrassing. Anyway, skepticism was the word I was looking for in the previous. But she makes the point that The Secret's about putting positivity out there and not negativity. And then she says, if you want your cats to be less irritating, it would be, my cats behave well all the time and are terrific to be around.
That would just be... So,
that would be a lie.
we rag on our cats, and...
They're actually the best behaved cats ever.
Except
lately, yes, lately.
Junior has gotten...
the taste.
He ate a sandwich yesterday.
Not yesterday, it was a few days ago.
Right, Scott left a Jimmy John sandwich out.
I accidentally had half a Jimmy John sandwich, which, for those of you who don't know, it's like a sub sandwich place. Anyway, I left it out on the counter in the kitchen.
Right, I
forgot to put it in the refrigerator.
I came downstairs the next morning. I'm like, what is going on? There's like, Jimmy John wrapper everywhere. There's some random... I'm like, so now...
Our cats ate a sandwich.
And so now, it's like, how like they talk about like in the wild, once a wild animal gets the taste for blood.
Junior, instead of the taste for blood, has the taste for sandwiches.
So literally last night, Scott was eating a sandwich on the couch.
I'm sitting there, and I had a sandwich on a plate in my lap. and I was futzing with my knitting or like putting it down or something to eat my sandwich. Junior, as I'm like doing something with my, or maybe I was like on my phone or something, he sneaks under my arm and starts going and taking little bites of the corner of my sandwich, trying to drag my sandwich away off the plate.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah.
Anyway. All right, so a little bit about, let's just touch on the weather. I don't like when people talk about the weather. I think it's boring as hell. However,
well, it's something. It's a nice thing to bond about with.
I have never complained. When I moved to Minnesota, I knew what I was getting into, because I grew up in Georgia where it never snowed. It was rarely below freezing. I knew what I was in for. I knew what was coming. I am done. We've had over 3 feet of snow in February. It's the snowiest February on record. I'm done.
There is nowhere. So we were shoveling again. Fudge. Sorry. I split my.
Yeah, I know. You're being weird.
I'm not.
So anyway, Burly Pearly and Susanna Warner were pointing out that this is a cold snap for them up in Canada. So we're normally our highs are normally supposed to get above freezing this time of year. And it got up to like 13 today or something like that. It's supposed to get down to -9 tonight, which is, I don't know what that is in Celsius. I try to put it on the screen sometimes, but
it's just been a lot of snow.
It's been a lot of snow. And then Deb Edo to you. Deb I do to you.
Okay.
It's like Candy Lovejoy and me calling her Davigne, diving anyone. Deb I do to you says, have you ever checked out Desert Vista Dye Works? They have a gorgeous line of superhero colorway series, and I've heard a lot about Desert Vista Dye Works, but I don't think I've ever we've ever bought it. They have one called Somebody Hulk. And she said, I know how Betty Ann loves the Hulk.
I don't know. That might be too much for her.
Her head might explode. Okay, so then back to so now comes the entomology portion of the knitting episode, where we talk about ants. So I had mentioned that I'm trying to learn a little bit of Italian because we're going to Italy. And so I had said something about formica is ants in Italian, and I didn't know what the connection was, and I made the comment that maybe that's why formica countertops are called that. And come to find out, C. D'Ambrosio and Frady, Fryede, and I think other people too maybe, but those are the two that I grabbed, pointed out that the resin was invented to use in plastic laminate, was originally used as a substitute for mica, the mineral, in electric insulation, and then used in plastic laminate for the countertop. So that's how it got its name. It doesn't have anything to do with formica. Formica. However, John Fleming, who's in Australia, said that he suspects that the ants are called that because of the formic acid they produce, which I didn't. I'm just amazed at what people know. So John Fleming also pointed out that in Australia that they had certainly heard about the polar vortex. So I wonder if they get the opposite, like the Arctic or the Antarctic polar vortex. Yes, I know that. Just wondering if they have like cold air that comes up from the South Pole. Stop touching me. Okay. We have to pause here for just a minute. Okay. So, we have our friends here. This right here is Junior that I've got. He, you can't really tell, but he's got a blue eye and a greenish gold eye. Mm-hmm. And he's called Junior because we used to have a dog named Grady, and Grady also had 2 different colored eyes, so he was Junior because he was Grady Junior. And then John's got Linus. Junior's the one with the shorter hair.
Yeah.
There we go. And then Linus is the one with...
Linus's name is really strange.
Yes.
Because he's named after Ben Linus from Lost.
The TV show.
The TV show, because we were watching Lost at the time we got him, because when Linus came home, he was like always mischievous and up to something. So we were like, oh, he's like Linus, always up to something.
Right.
Had we known.
Had we known.
It's like, that's not really... Now he's just Linus, but that character doesn't
People
really...
sometimes think he's from the Peanuts character.
Right.
The one that has the blanket.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, somebody asked... So, Davigne, actually, Candy Lovejoy said, how did these two cutie pies come into your lives? So we thought we'd tell the Linus and Junior origin story.
Right.
So... John and I had been together for almost a year.
Yeah, and we just moved into our old house together.
Yeah, the house that we lived in before this house. And so we're like, oh, maybe we should get some pets. Maybe we should get some cats.
Some cats, partially because cats are fun. And then partially because, they're also good to, for pest control.
Yeah, they're good. They're good to keep your mice out of your house.
Right.
And because it gets so cold here and stuff, it's typical that you have to worry about mice getting into your house. So, Junior looks so... Oh, he's like, dude, will you just stop? So, I'm sitting at work one day, and my friend Kim said to me, she leans over me, this is at work, she leans over me and she says, do you want a cat? And I was like, Actually, yeah, that's weird that you brought that up. So as I was saying, my friend turns to me in a meeting and she goes, do you want a cat? And I was like, well, actually, yeah. And so what she told us was that her children had gone to visit their grandfather on his farm, and they had, a cat had kittens on the farm, and he was going to dispose of the kittens. And so the kids were like, oh, no, you're not, and grabbed like all 6 kittens and brought them back to her house. And so she was like trying to get rid of these kittens. And so she sent me pictures, and there were, I don't know if it was 4 or 6.
6, because there was...
Well, there were ones that...
were gray.
There were ones... So Junior's done. He's had it. So there were ones that looked like each of them. So there were short hair cats and long hair cats. Some with different colored eyes and some with... And then there were white ones and then gray ones and then a mix.
Right.
And so she pointed Linus out specifically to me and she said, well, this one is kind of interesting because he hops around like a bunny rabbit. Wherever he goes, he hops around like a little bunny rabbit. And at the time, when he was a kitten, he had a little gray, the only gray on him was a little gray mohawk.
It was really cute.
That's the only gray he had. We were hoping he was grown out. So anyway, I was like, well, and then she's like, and this one has 2 different colored eyes. Well, our dog had 2 different colored eyes. We thought that was cool. And so I texted John and I was like, well, this one has 2 different colored eyes, but this one hops like a bunny rabbit.
And I was like, why do we have to choose?
So John's like, yeah, we have to get both.
Well, and because I've had cats before, and you've had cats before, and it's really nice, I think, to have 2 cats in the house, because they kind of keep each other company.
Yeah. So, we don't know much about their heritage. They could be cats from the wrong side of the tracks, for all we know.
Well, the large side of the track, in any case. I mean, they're both big.
They're both big boys.
Yeah.
So that's the Linus and Junior origin story.
Yeah.
So she brought him over, and I will try to insert a picture here of the day. We'll try to insert some kitten pictures. It's pretty hilarious. Plus, you'll get to see me with hair.
Yeah.
I think they
Yeah.
had hair back then. So anyway, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So that's that. So as we've mentioned a few times, we're going to go to Italy in the fall with my mom and my aunt, my brother and his wife. And Duxun Olivieri commented and said, I can help you. Anche se non sembro sono italiana, which I don't quite know. I don't know what the first sentence means. But I know sono italiana means I'm Italian. Anyway, the plan. We're going to be going to on a bus tour for the most part over lots of different parts of Italy. My mom and aunt, when they were growing up, did I already talk about this on the podcast?
I think so.
Yeah, when they were growing up, their dad. Now I've got cat hair all over my face. Their dad was in the Air Force, and so they moved there and were stationed in Marina del. Can't remember. Anyway, it's near Pisa, near Livorno. So anyway, that's what we're going. And then Tracy Roberts commented that she had a friend that spent 6 weeks in Italy in a language immersion school.
Ooh.
And he, the friend of hers had used Duolingo, which is the, and watched Italian soap operas, which is a good way to learn the language. I hear a lot of people do that. But yeah, so I'm using Duolingo. Trying to learn some Italian. Okay, so then there was a little conversation about cider because I was curious if people in other parts of the world were
Like cider too.
Yeah, and I knew it wasn't something the United States came up with. I knew that, but I think it was like somewhere in the UK where it originated, but I don't know the whole story. Oh no! Now I've got Linus getting his close up. So anyway, Catherine Hastings said, "We drink cider here in Ireland too." This is the comment that made me laugh so hard. Catherine understands my sense of humor, or our sense of humor. A little facetious, maybe a little sarcastic sometimes. Never
mean,
and never real. Nothing that we ever say is real. So we drink cider here in Ireland too, and we feed it to leprechauns. She's like, you need to see a drunk leprechaun. In fact, so many leprechauns get drunk on cider that we sometimes say that we are going out to go get leprechauned.
Nice.
Oh, so Catherine's from the remote west coast of Ireland, which is a polar vortex-free zone. Catherine's hilarious. Okay, then... so I've never had any exposure to the Norwegian language.
Oh, crap. I'm sorry, Junior's eating Doritos. Literally, his head was in a bag of Doritos.
Junior was eating Doritos. Okay.
Disaster cat.
So I have no exposure to the Norwegian language. Odvig Forkensleen.
That's probably exactly how it's pronounced.
I know that's wrong. Oh, God. Apple cider's a big deal in Norway.
Yeah.
Especially in the producer. There are a lot of producers in the Hardanger district. The biggest fruit district in Norway. Can you imagine there's a fruit district? Can you imagine going to the Norwegian fruit district? How awesome that would be. Apple and pear cider. We have both those. And in the United States, everything has to be extra. So we've got like strawberry and all this other crap here in the United States, which doesn't need to happen. And then this person says, we also have something called Äppelmost.
Ooh.
That is basically the juice of squashed apples. That sounds really good. Greetings from Norway. That is amazing.
See? Let's go to Norway now.
Yeah.
Like we were already planning to do that at some point anyway.
Well, yeah. My dream is to go to Scandinavia. Like we've been to Greece. We've been to South America. I want to go to Scandinavia. OK Painter says that they love strong cider. Strongbow is my favorite. See, I don't like Strongbow. I think Strongbow is made in Canada. There's something about the flavor that I don't like. I think it's very sweet.
Sure.
You don't drink cider.
I don't drink cider.
You don't drink anything. Angry Orchard is a close second. Yeah, I do like Angry Orchard, and that's pretty much what I drink the most of. And in fact, this is an Angry Orchard. But Crispin is my favorite, and Crispin is one that started here in the United States, in Minnesota. And then there's one that I like to drink that's actually bottled or canned or whatever in the town in Georgia that I grew up in. I don't think it's made there, but it's bottled there, and it's called Reds. Redds, and that's another cider that I like. And then Yvonne Steinwold says, I would suggest trying Strongbow Magners, which I've not had that one before. Cider Boys, which actually Cider Boys is another one of my favorite, and Stella Cidra, which I like that one too. Every once in a while, it's not nearly as sweet. And then Diskin, discovered on a trip to Nashville, which I haven't had that before.
Huh.
There's a pear version referred to as Perry, and I've had pear ones before too. So anyway, then I think we're close to the end. So the Bat Lady Knits, who was a winner on our last episode from our knit along, said this is a new topic. Have either of you ever tried the Tipsy Toe Socks, which is a free pattern on Ravelry? I have not.
No.
And then she goes on to say, I'm a sock knitting junkie with a 9-inch circular, but I cannot figure out how to do the toe. Can anyone offer advice on that? So I don't know that there is a way to do a toe with a 9-inch circular needle. I always switch to DPNs or magic loop when I do the toes. And if I do an afterthought heel, I use DPNs or magic loop.
Yeah.
I don't know that there is a way to do the toe or heel with a 9-inch circular. So, all right. So let's get into it.
Yay!
Oh, and I have to say hi to my mom's friend Deborah.
Hi,
if
Deborah.
she's watching. All right. So, do you want to start?
Yes.
You're the only one with a finished object. I have a half finished object.
I have a pretty much finished.
Two finished objects.
I have one that's 100% finished and one that's finished. So this is the one. So this is the hat I was working on last time. So this is the hat I was working on a while ago. I actually finished a while ago. It's called the Eshannes hat, Eshaness hat by Amber Platzer Corcoran. And it is a colorwork hat, so you can sort of see all the floats inside. And it's made with Fancy Tiger Arts Heirloom Romney. So
Fancy Tiger is a store in Denver.
yeah,
right?
so I picked this up. They had these kits where they had the 4 colors all together, and so I picked up the kit in Denver and bought the pattern and made the hat, and I really like it. And I made my first pom-pom, which was
Talk about that a little bit.
So that was made out of this kind of bluish silver,
bluish gray,
and a little bit of the brown. And so I'd never made a pom-pom before, so basically you just wrap yarn in a circle, and then you sort of tie it together and then cut it, and then you give the pom-pom a haircut. So,
did you watch a YouTube video?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's YouTube videos out there. So it's really, really fun.
And how did you? One of the things people talk a lot about are the different ways to attach a pom-pom. So how did you do that?
I just took the 2 ends and tied them and then wove the ends in. So it was fun. See, look, here's.
I really like the look of the pom-pom.
I do too, and it was like this. The way I did it is, I had a lot of, because for some reason I had a lot of this blue left, and I liked the blue a lot, and I felt like of the colors in the thing, it was the least poppy when I had it finished. So I'm like, oh, if I do a blue pom-pom, that'll bring out the blue a little bit, and then I put some of the brown in there too, so it wasn't all just one color. So I like it. It's been a very,
beautiful.
Very nice hat to wear. Pretty warm actually.
Is it 100% wool?
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels very.
Yeah.
It feels very.
Very woolly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's done.
It's like a beanie with a pom pom. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
So yeah, that is my finished object.
Awesome.
One of my finished objects.
All right, so
Do the other one.
I think I'll do one now.
Okay.
Well, actually, why don't you do your other one and then we'll
Go on to whips.
Yeah.
So this is a finish off. It's not 100% done, but literally I got done binding it off, casting off, like minutes ago, right before this. So this is the Wonder Woman wrap. God, this isn't blocked, so it's going to get enormous. It's by Carissa Browning, and it is knit with Copper Corky, Savannah Sock. The red is called Heartbreaker, and the gold is called Midas. So yeah, this has been really fun.
This was a kit from the Fuzzy Goat, the
Yeah.
store in Thomasville, Georgia.
Yeah, so that was nice because, like, you know, someone got the. I mean, I love the colors, but it was just really fun to just knit this, and I just think it turned out amazingly.
It's awesome.
It's a great pattern. Learned all about short rows. And yeah, it's something like, it's just really cool how basically this is all done. It's not color work. It's done with short rows and increases and decreases, and all that good stuff. So really fun. I love the colors. Have
you looked at this designer, any of the other designers' patterns?
Yeah.
Like, what other stuff does she do?
I'm not sure,
Okay.
but she has a lot. She has a lot of patterns. And this is one she did. It's a free pattern, actually, which is really nice.
Really?
Yeah.
What's her name again?
Carissa Browning. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and little Bush Baby was doing it, too, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So she was kind of ahead of me by a few months.
Oh, yeah, because she did it in the Finish It Cal, I
Yeah,
think.
exactly. So, yeah, this took... I think I started it the first time over New Year's, and then I had an issue with this section, which was all these the short rows for this sort of triangle area. And so I actually frogged it, what I had, and then taught myself how to do the short rows on a piece of sort of junk yarn, so I knew how to do it. And then I came back and did it. So, yeah, I really like it. So yeah. And it's going to... Unfortunately, or not unfortunately, the reason I did it is we have a fundraiser coming up, and this is going to be a silent auction item. Come on.
Yeah, so John's going to auction, or it's going to be part of the items that
Right.
are auctioned off for the fundraiser.
Right. So that'll be fun, because, I mean, really, I already have a shawl already at home that I wear. I don't really need a second one.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So I was weaving the ends. That's got to happen, and then it's going to be blocked. And I really like how it came out.
Yeah.
I've been pretty much knitting on this semi-monogamously for the last couple of weeks because I have a deadline. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's been fun.
Awesome.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi there, Betty Ann. How
Hello.
are you?
Can you hear us?
What?
Can you hear us?
I can? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Mhm.
How are you?
Fine. How are you?
Good. We're just calling from the SweetTeaNoShade podcast.
Oh, I've heard y'all.
What are you doing?
I am diamond painting.
Oh, that's right. So Betty Ann's gotten into diamond painting.
What's diamond
Yes.
painting?
Now, why don't you tell us what diamond painting is?
Diamond painting is where you have a canvas that has a picture on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got the picture, the part that you paint is...
I'm going to have to cut all this out because you're just rambling.
I'm sorry. The canvas, the picture has adhesive on it, and there are little plastic, quote, diamonds
Mm-hmm.
that sparkle, and it's basically paint by numbers or symbols.
It's like a mosaic, right? Almost.
Mosaic.
Where you're putting you're coloring a picture with little pieces that you stick to it, right?
Yes.
But they're all the
exactly.
same shape and size. They don't vary in shape and size.
No, they don't vary in shape.
Mhm.
No. You can either get round diamonds or square ones. And some pictures are partial. In other words, the background won't be sticky to where you have to fill it in. You get a full picture or a partial picture. So, you know, of course, the full ones, you do the background, you do the whole canvas with the diamonds. But it sparkles. It really adds dimension, and it's mindless. You know, sort of takes you away, and another craft that lets you, you know, relax and create something.
Yeah, yeah, kind of like sock knitting, I guess, for me.
Sure, for you.
Yeah, kind of like sock knitting or hat knitting for John.
Yeah. So what are you working on knitting-wise right now?
Knitting-wise, I'm trying to do, what am I working on knitting-wise?
Do you knit anymore, or do you hate? Have you become John and hate knitting?
No, I think I'm working on a shawl. I have to remember what, because I have so many bags beside my chair, I can't remember. And then I'm crocheting the temperature blanket.
Oh, yeah. Temperature blanket. Speaking of the temperature blanket, I sent this to Mom. I don't think I sent it to you. There was an article in our local newspaper, which is the Star Tribune, where they talked about knitting temperature blankets. And Scott Rohr from the Yarnery
was doing one too.
Was featured in there. Was interviewed. So before,
very timely in that we had had that conversation recently.
Well, and Mom, it's supposed to get down to -9 tonight.
Well, here we're at 70 degrees.
That's a little bit of a difference.
Yes, the next week is supposed to be in the 80s again. So, and we're not in March yet. So.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's just been crazy. Well, and the snow banks come up to above the windows of the car, so you can't see when somebody else is, you know, like when you pull up to an intersection, the snow banks are higher than the cars, so you can't see the other cars.
Sort of like lanes that are cars that are wider than the road.
Yes. So the other thing I was going to ask you about, so you're working on a shawl, but you're not sure.
Yes, I can't remember what I pulled out to work on. I know I was working on a baby blanket at one point, but I can't remember right now which other thing I had pulled out.
Oh, I remember what I was going to ask you about. So Deb, I do too, you, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, pointed out that Desert Vista Dye Works has a Hulk colorway from their yarn.
Well, isn't that interesting? If certain stories about me were true, I might partake of that particular colorway. But seeing as how a lot of these things are made up,
Mom, you know what? You can try to use our podcast to twist things.
You know, it's about being open and honest and celebrating these things and not being ashamed.
Being your authentic self.
Each other and look and see if your noses are growing. Because if they're getting longer, then the people that are watching your podcast will know the truth.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I just think it's, you know, we love you no matter how weird your tastes are.
With your obsession with the American Doll.
And the Hulk. What if there's an American Doll?
And
a She-Hulk.
And tube tops. Don't forget tube tops.
My friend Kim told me to knit a red, sparkly tube top to take to Italy.
And you and Burly Pearly Knits are going to be BFFs. And somebody wanted to be your daughter, and I was like, yeah, go for it.
Yes.
Go for it.
Yes. So I've got 3 children waiting in the wings already.
And you're going on a camping trip. Now, are you and Wendy talking about going camping in Alabama at the same time? Or that was just, you were just bonding?
They already had plans. They, I believe, Wendy and her husband and another couple, already had a plan. They went to Gulf Shores, I think, Alabama.
Okay. Well, if you we're getting ready to show her sock pattern that I'm making for you. So if you want to, when I get to that part, you can. I'm sorry, I'm looking at myself in the TV and I've got red splotches on the face. I don't know what that's about. So anyway,
too much cider.
I will. I'll let you know if you want to look away and have them be a surprise or not. I don't care. It's up to you.
Well, I probably want to look so I can see if I want to make another pair of socks pretty soon.
Yeah. All right. Well, do you have anything else to say to the viewers?
Well, I like to say hi to all my friends and everybody that's watching.
So, Mom, nobody gets that joke.
No, they don't, because they
So
weren't
when
here in
Mom-
Albany, Georgia for all the TV shows.
There was a cable access show, or I guess it wasn't cable access back
No,
then.
it was just regular old TV when we had 5 channels.
And it was this is the 50s, right?
1950s, yeah.
What was the TV show?
One was Captain Mercury and one was Lazy A Ranch.
And the kids would be on there, the local kids would be on there.
Well, the kids would be on there, but they always gave us bubble gum before we went on.
You went on there?
Smacking their bubble gum while they're talking on the TV.
You were on there?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, we went down. I think most of the time it was as Girl Scouts.
Oh, yeah. And you
Boring.
And you would say, I just want to say hi to all my friends.
And everybody that's watching.
And everybody that's watching.
I'm surprised that's not more widely known.
Right.
All right, well, I love you, and I will talk to you soon.
Love you too. Bye, my angels.
Bye.
Here's the deal. People just watch that segment, and they don't realize how much we cut out. God.
Well, if she wouldn't cuss like a sailor, it wouldn't be a problem. We have to cut out all the cussing.
Yeah, the language is just out of control. Like, she gets into her PBR.
What's PBR?
Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Oh, Pabst Blue Ribbon, yeah.
And she just gets through a 6-pack.
You can't have a conversation with her.
Right.
Because she's such a disaster.
I mean, we did a good job. I mean, you'll see, it'll look almost seamless. But God, I mean...
Okay, we're back. So, this does not have anything to do with the show, but...
So one of the reasons you might have noticed some breaks in the programming. Part of it is because Betty Ann is a disaster, and we have to cut a lot of it. But also Scott is making bread.
I've been making bread, and I'm gonna burn myself, but I just got my baguettes out of the oven.
Yes, they smell amazing.
I just made them, so I had to bring them down and show them off. Oh my God, they're amazing. Yeah. Okay, all right. So now let's move on to work in progress. I'll start. So this is in my little fox bag that my mom got me. And I can't remember who made it. That's okay. So I was like, I need to do a hat. And actually, I'll remember for the next podcast. But there are a couple people who've given us for free hat patterns. And I am going to knit those. And I'll talk about them in the next episode. I forgot. But one of the patterns that I am going to do is this. This is the Michael's hat from Dye Monkey Yarns, Jessie. So it's a hat pattern. It's a kind of a more basic hat pattern, but it's fun because it's a rib. Most of the hat is ribbed, but it's not symmetrical or not. There's a pattern to it, but it's
kind of like a sequence pattern with ribbon.
No, it's not sequence because it doesn't change. But it's basically it's a rib, but it's like 3 knits and then a purl and then 2 knits and then a purl, etc. So it creates this interesting, more than just a rib pattern, but it's still got the stretchiness of a rib. And what had happened was I was like, well, and there was another hat pattern that I was going to do. which I'll talk about in a future episode. And you know how sometimes you want the pattern to be the star or you want the yarn to be the star. And I had already decided I was going to use this yarn. And I realized that that pattern, you wouldn't be able to see the pattern well
with the yarn.
So you need kind of like a bland, not bland, but single color
color, high, low fuzziness.
Yeah, high twist.
Yeah.
To show off the stitch definition for that pattern. So I decided instead I wanted to find a pattern that would show off this yarn, and Jesse's pattern's perfect for that. It's the Michael hat. And I'm going to insert a picture, but this yarn,
you should pull out the cake.
It's called, there are 2 cakes because I'm holding it double. But so it's Interlacement Yarns, and it's the it's Michigan, I think, is the base, and then Turkish Carpet is the colorway, and it's so beautiful. I bought it just because I didn't have any idea, and it's they're large skeins. I want to say they're like 200 grams or something like that. And so I didn't know what weight it was, and I'm really bad at visually looking at a yarn and telling what the weight is. So I put it into Ravelry when I was creating my project, and I discovered it was considered a light fingering. And Jesse's hat pattern, I think it was called for like a DK or something like that. So I'm like, well, so I'm holding it double, and I did the swatch with the needles that Jesse recommended, and I immediately met gauge. It was like perfect. So, which is rare.
Can you hold
me.
it up to the camera just because it's so pretty?
Oh yeah, I did. I have
okay.
been. But it's and I'm going to insert a picture because it's hard to see all the colors. But there's red and orange and purple, and the way that they did the yarn is it looks almost like there's a black base, and then they've over-dyed these vibrant jewel tone colors.
You know what it looks like? Did you ever have like a light bright when you were a little kid?
Yeah, like a light bright, yeah.
Like the dark background and then the really bright pops of color.
Yeah, and the thing about it is that when you hold it double, you get each stitch. It's got a mix of the colors of the oranges and the golds and the reds and the greens and the everything. So I'm really, really excited about this hat. So it's coming right along. So, yeah, this will probably be done by the next episode.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
It's very soothing to knit because I was pretty easy to memorize the repeat, and the yarn is just awesome. So, anyway, working on that. What?
No, I'm just trying to figure out what I have to talk about.
Okay.
I've got a couple ones. Why don't you go?
Okay.
Because I've only got really one actual work in progress and a couple of thoughts for the future.
Next pattern I'm doing is sorry, I'm trying to find the name of the pattern. It's from Wendy Geckner, who is Baba Yaya. She has the Baba Yaya podcast. Oh my gosh, I cannot find the name of the pattern. But it's the pattern. I'll insert the name of the pattern. I can't remember the name of it because I didn't print out the first page that has just the pattern name on it. So here's where I'm at. So basically what you do is you do a Turkish cast on. And they're shorty socks. So you start with a Turkish cast on and you knit the heel. Then you knit, and I think you do an afterthought cuff, and I think that's where you do it. And then I'm about to do the toe. So then all I'll have to do is pick up the stitches on either side, cut the yarn in the middle row, the row in between that, and then open it up and knit the cuff. And then it makes a little shorty sock. And this is Dye Monkey Yarns.
Oh my god, that's so sparkly.
Isn't that awesome? And of course I forgot the name of the colorway, so I will put that in the bottom. But it's a sparkle base. These socks are for my mom. So I had her, there's a template that Wendy includes in the pattern. And And so it's been super easy to knit. I love doing a Turkish cast on. It's like magic. It's amazing to me how you just wrap the yarn around the needles and then all of a sudden it's like you knit a little bit and then it's seamless. So yeah, I got sidetracked. I got almost to the toe. I was about to start the decreases for the toe, and I got distracted by the hat that I cast on and some other stuff. So
it's funny how that happens.
I know, right? So yeah, and this beautiful yarn. I don't know if it's picking it up well, but it's green and blue and gray, and then it's got the sparkle base, and I think it's like, I don't remember. I'm not even going to try to guess what it is, but it's it's very, very soft. I think Mom's gonna love these. So here's what it looks like in the cake. It is very sparkly.
Yeah. Was that stuff we just had line or we had?
No, I won this in her drawing.
Cool.
Oh wait, I've got the thing right here. Forbidden Forest is what it's called.
Pretty. On
her Disco Monkey base, which is 75% merino, 20% nylon, and 5% stellina.
Starlina?
Not Starlina. Yes, so that's another thing that I'm working on, a new sock pattern. It's fun.
Great. I'll do... So I just started, again, the shawl has been taking up a lot of my time, but I've had this pattern on the, on my aspirational list for a long time, and I just started it. So, it's called Thorn by Martin Story, and it comes from, we'll show a picture of what it looks like, but it's, I had to buy a special thing of Rowan knits for it, and so basically it is a flat knit sweater, with...
It's a cardigan.
Cardigan, with, basically just a sort of rib with color work.
It helps if you, it helps if you lean it, the way our lights are, it helps if you lean it back just a little bit so that they can see them.
So you can't get a good sense.
You've got a picture we can insert.
Yeah, we got a picture we can insert. And yeah, it's just one of those things. It's weird because I've never done color work flat before. So there's a lot of, but it's working out fine. Most people complain.
Which requires you to purl color work. I think that's what people were complaining about.
Right, but except I always purl color work because I do it Portuguese knitting. So the purling's easy, it's the knitting that's a little weird.
Oh.
So, but yeah, I mean, so far so good. Obviously, I've got a ways to go.
Were you doing this Portuguese knitting?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I do all the color work. I do Portuguese knitting. So it's actually easier for me to purl than it is to knit, but it's not that hard to knit. But so it's a really cool pattern. This is just cascade worsted, and so yeah, the rib is done. But it'll interesting to see how the pieces all come together.
So this is the back.
Yes.
You'll have to do the sides eventually.
Yeah. Which is good because, good lord, I mean, once you've done the back, you're pretty much done.
That's cute.
That's what I feel. That's what I'm telling myself. But anyway, it's
no, what everybody talks about. I mean, I've never done a sweater all the way, but people talk about you get stuck on the sleeves because they're like giant socks.
Right. But again, it's knit flat. Both the sleeves and everything's knit flat. So some people are talking.
The sleeves are knit flat.
Yep. And it all seams together. I guess you could do the sleeves. In
the round.
In the round, I might. But
or magic loop or whatever.
Right, but I don't know how they'd fit into. Because everything else is flat, so I don't know how.
I would just follow the pattern.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. So anyway, it'll be really pretty. More to come on that. So yeah. That is my work in progress, and I feel, this shawl, I just plowed through. I mean, basically a month and a half to do it, and I feel like, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like if I can do this in a month and a half, I can get this done by fall.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
But yeah, that is my other work in progress that I have something to show on that's on the needles right now.
Alright, well, I'm going to show something that I did randomly. So, because of the fact that it's been so damn cold here, I was like, you know what, I want some thick socks. Some boot socks, I think they're called, and things like that. But basically socks that are knit with something thicker than sock yarn.
Mm-hmm.
So we have this old Red Heart yarn lying around. And I was like, you know, I'm just going to see if I can do that. So what I did was, if I do 64 stitches in sock yarn, then I did a gauge swatch. And I said, okay, if I have 64, no. I counted the number of stitches per inch on my socks that I do. And then I said, okay, if it's 64 stitches that I cast on for this many stitches per inch, then how many stitches do I need to cast on if I'm doing this many stitches per inch in my gauge swatch that I did with this yarn? And so I don't remember what the number was, but I came up with the number. And so I've started a sock using this yarn, and it's a worsted weight yarn. It is acrylic, so it's a little different obviously than wool. And the reason I'm doing it in this acrylic is because we had it, and also because I wanted to make sure that I could do this way before I used good, more expensive yarn to do this.
Well, and the nice thing, I mean, like, so that acrylic is actually pretty warm.
Yeah, I mean...
So if you want...
It's just that it's not soft and it doesn't give the way that wool does. Right. But, so, you know, it might be awesome, I don't know. But I'm going to do a normal top-down sock with an afterthought heel, I think, in this. Just a vanilla sock with an afterthought heel. And then I did a couple, well, like 1.5 inches or 2 inches of 2x2 ribbing at the top. And then what I did was I had this pair or this set of circular needles that I'm doing at Magic Loop. To be honest, I can't remember what size these needles are. I think I want to say they're like, I don't even remember. They're obviously bigger than the 2.25 or 2.5 millimeter sock needles that I use. I want to say, I'm not going to guess. Again, I'm not good at guessing, but they're larger needles, and I bought a pair of 9-inch circulars because
why not?
Gotta knit socks on 9-inch circulars. But they make 9-inch circulars with the larger needle tips. So I want to say this is like a US 3 or something.
I feel this might be even a 4.
Yeah. So anyway, I found 9-inch circulars, ChowGoo, that are this needle tip size, and so I'm going to do this sock using that.
Cool.
And I hope I have enough of this Red Heart. I have more than just this skein, but I'm hoping we have more Red Heart, same colorway for me to do that with.
I think we've got a couple things. Speaking of it, do you want to talk about our stash organizing project?
Why don't you talk about that? Because you're better at talking about that than I am.
Okay. So, we had, you know, it's not all about the weather, but 2 weeks ago...
It's not all about the weather, but it does cause you to do projects around the house.
So it was really cold, like 20 below cold, and we were kind of snowed in, colded in, couldn't do anything. And so what we decided to do was like, well, let's organize our stash. And so we have an office area with some shelves, and we've been sort of thinking that we want to put all our yarn into one place. We can find it really easily. And so in order to do that, we had to find all of our yarn.
And before...
It's like tribbles.
After I told you to do all the talking, and now I'm going to interrupt. I did... So one thing I don't know if I've talked much about on the podcast is that I started crocheting probably 20 years ago or something like that, and I did a couple blankets. It was very sporadic. I was not consistent with it. I made like an Afghan or two. I think I made 2 or 3 Afghans because I gave a couple away as presents. And I had never bought real wool yarn. I'd only ever bought acrylic. I didn't know that like you could buy real wool yarn, to be honest. And then after I really got into knitting, I started buying real wool yarn and getting kind of obsessed with buying yarn and going to the yarn shop hops and stuff. So anyway, we had yarn from way in the past, and then John had a bunch of yarn and like yarn he'd been given by other people that he worked with, and so we just had it hither and yon.
Yeah, it was all over the place. So we got all our yarn out, put it in the living room, and
I immediately got overwhelmed.
started organizing
it's like,
it.
Oh God!
And so so now we have all of the yarn in the house in one space, and I took some pictures of the sorting in progress. So it was a lot. Like we
never did after pictures though, did we?
Yeah, but we have the after.
We should do that.
Yeah. But yeah, it was really nice, and it was kind of fun because it got you sort of like, oh, I have this yarn. It's been,
Well, that's where this hat came from. It's like I was like, oh my God, I forgot about this beautiful giant skein of yarn I have.
Yeah, and we have a lot of yarn. I mean, I'm sure that's a problem that we're the only people in the world who have that.
We're the only ones who have a lot of yarn.
Yeah,
that's true.
Nobody
else has a lot of yarn.
Right, that we've bought and haven't necessarily used. But it was really fun because it's like going through and like, oh, this is yarn I've meant to do something with. Let's do that. And you sort of like, oh, I've got this yarn, and that's, as opposed to like going out and buying more yarn for a new project, because we have a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really fun, and now it's all kind of organized and.
Yeah, and the way that we did it was, I mean, I'd be interested to know how other people did it. We have bins that are full of the acrylic because we have a lot of it, and we have a bin with all the acrylic in it.
Yep.
Then we have a bin, and it's not as fun to show off that to me as the more expensive wool and alpaca and stuff like that. Then we have a bin that's full of like skeins that are not remnants. They're not the little bits left over, but they're like half skeins or whatever. Mm-hmm. So we have a bin of that where we separated everything into Ziploc bags. And then for the skeins that are not, they're still like in hanks or whatever. Mm-hmm. We haven't caked them up or anything. We put them like all the fingering, or all the sock yarn, because I love sock yarn and I love to knit socks. So we have a lot of sock yarn.
It's a bit like a yarn shop where our yarn is now sort of sorted into little bins that are basically what weight it is.
Yeah.
So it's nice to sort of like look up and like, okay, and we kind of had that going on before, but it was not comprehensive by any stretch of imagination.
Well, and the big deal was, and I made the shelves that we have. I made the shelves. I got the wood and sanded it and stained it and then mounted it on the wall and everything. And so we have the top couple shelves are smaller. They're not as deep. They're maybe a foot deep. And then we have a couple on the lower that are much deeper than that. And one actually works almost like a tabletop. And that's where we have our Swift and our ball winder mounted. Right. And that's where we cake up our yarn, is on that the first shelf that sticks out almost like a tabletop.
Right.
So the problem was that was getting buried with
in yarn
stuff. Yeah, and so it was irritating. So it was like, let's get all this cleaned up. And so now we have our books on that, and then like we have a bin with all of our needles in it and the different needle organizers and stuff. So it's been wonderful.
Well, and it's about, everything has its place, and so now, like, for example, okay, this is where this goes. So it's all located in one space too, which is nice also. So easier to find. It was a fun project. Don't, if you ever get snowed in and you feel like you need something to do.
I got totally overwhelmed. John's like, it's okay. We can do it step by step. All right, so then the last thing I'm working on, this is my Cody Knits. Oh crud. I'm going to have to put the name in at the bottom. That's not the name of his and his friend's Etsy store, but this is the bag that Mom got for Christmas for us. Yeah, so I have, this is my half-finished object. So this is super fun yarn. I forget the name of it, but I'm gonna put it in the bottom of the screen there. It's also on my Ravelry project page for this yarn. But it's yarn that I bought in Chicago, and it's got rainbow blips in amongst the gray with the black speckles. And then I decided to put bright fluorescent pink toe and heel in there. I did an afterthought heel, top down with just some rib at the top, and then vanilla stockinette down to the long tube, and then I put the toe in, and then the afterthought heel. So these were going to be a gift for a friend of mine, but then I realized my friend Jake is a big boy. He's a rugby player, and I know his shoe size, but the number of stitches cast on for the diameter of the leg is not going to be big enough for him. So I decided they were going to be for me because they're my size. So I finished this one. So I'll insert at the bottom of the name of the yarn that I bought in Chicago. But I went and bought, because I wanted the bright pink and I didn't have any. So I bought this yarn from Jimmy Bean's Wool. It's Lorna's Laces. And it's her shepherd sock base. It's 80% merino, 20% nylon. And the colorway is Cheery.
Cheery.
So it's just caked up enough. I put it in this little, so this is a trick that I got from the Fuzzy Goat, the store in Thomasville, Georgia, from Cadence. This is a baby sock that you use to keep your skein together when it's really small. But so this is my skein for the toes and heels, and I am this far on the second sock. So it's using my 9-inch circular chow grease, probably 2.25 millimeter needles, and like I said, the ribbing at the top, and then the vanilla or the stockinette down, and then I'll put in the toe and the heel.
I love how the pink sort of brings everything out.
Yeah,
that's very fun.
Yeah, and the thing that's the thing that where I've gotten to, the point that I've gotten to with knitting these socks is, and a lot of people who love socks probably are the same way. It's like when we watch TV or stuff in the evening when I'm relaxing in the evening, I've gotten to the point where I don't have to look at my knitting anymore. And so I'm just sitting there.
And it's like surprise sock.
It's like surprise sock, because it's like I'm knitting along and watching TV, and it's like all of a sudden I look down, I'm like, oh my god. And what I do is I put a progress keeper in each time I start, so that when I get done, or when I stop, or if we change episodes or whatever, I can look down and be like, oh my god, where did all this come from? So it's soothing, and it's nice to have this done. I mean, I've never tried a pattern sock. I could do a pattern sock probably, but I don't know. I'm fine with the socks. I just love doing it. Well, to me, it's more about the yarn.
Right, and they're beautiful. Those are great.
Yeah. So anyway, that's that. So those are the projects I'm working on. The three different types of socks, and then the hat. Yeah.
So I have 2 projects that are aspirational, I guess, for lack of a better word, that I think are kind of fun to talk about. So one of them is I don't know if you remember a couple weeks ago, I did the 2-sided hat. One side is like Nordic stars, and the other side is reindeers having sex.
It's reindeers who like each other very much. So
anyway, a friend of mine really liked it, so I'm making it again. And so I'm going to make it again, but I went out and got yarn for it.
That's my first project. Just for a minute, a shout out. That project bag that he's got this in is the first project bag that I ever had, and it was one that Betty Ann bought me. It's Nemo.
I could just do this magic loop with these. So one of the problems right now, I'm sorry. Sidebar. So I have all these hats that I want to make, but we don't have enough Chowgu. Yeah. So I actually ordered an extra cable. But I just realized I could make this hat magic loop.
Yeah. I mean, you run the risk of having a ladder or any weirdness, but I'm doing this. No, I'm not doing this magic loop. I'm doing this in around 2.
You know what? I'm going to wait. So anyway, the reason I did it is I went to Stephen B and I got these 2 color. This is Madeline Tosh. This is called Bittersweet. It's this sort of really deep, fun, beautiful black. And then...
Well, do you know it has colors in it, right? Can you see colors in it?
Not really.
Oh, okay. So this is the fun John has color blindness episode. So it's not black, it's green and brown. So it's got some forest green.
No, it's not. It's black.
No, it's green and brown. So you've got forest greens interspersed with kind of a chocolatey brown.
You should hold it up. And then it'll be, the other one will be this is called Canvas Tent, which I really like. It's kind of looks like canvas. So anyway, this will be a color work hat from a friend, Chris, and he likes severe colors, so this will be very spare, Norwegian beautiful. So that'll be fun. I will get that done. That'll be pretty quick. It's a pretty fast knit. I think I'll wait for the cable though, because I don't like magic loop for hats.
Yeah.
Although it'd probably be fine. And then
but it's one of those things you don't have to do magic loop, because if you get a 12-inch needle,
14-inch
needle, then you don't
right. And for some reason we don't have any 14-inch cables anywhere. Like I don't. They.
Well, what happened to the one I pulled that one out? I handed you 2 of them.
They weren't the right size.
You mean the adapters?
The adapters,
oh,
yeah.
Okay.
They were too large for the thing. So that's fun. That's a project I'm going to do. The other one I'm going to do, and this is more kind of a fun thing, is I'm doing this hat called the Coal House hat. It's by Jared Flood, and it's this hat, and sort of, but it's this hat that has really kind of cool ribbing pattern on it. So you do it with cabling. And so why this one is fun, and I can sort of see, I've done the swatch.
Yeah, you
can't really see. But, so it's basically you're cabling all the time. So like every row has cables on it. You can sort of see what it looks like, these little X's. And they're like 1-stitch cables.
Keep talking, I'll bring it up.
So they're 1-stitch cables. So basically you're using a cable needle every... You see that?
Yeah, I can't do it.
Yeah. There you go.
It's hard to tell.
Yeah. It's sort of hard. You can't really see it that well. It's a very small swatch, too. Yeah. But anyways, he's really small.
Well, hand me the pattern and I'll show the...
Well, we can do pictures, too.
I know, but I'm already up here, so...
So, it'll look like that eventually. It's actually a pattern that a lot of people are doing for some reason. Yeah. So anyway, I was trying to do it. I started doing it with a cable needle, and it was just so fiddly. Because usually for me with cabling is like you do the cable every now and again, you sort of knit it through, and it comes back. And so what I'm trying to do with this one is you can cable without a cable needle. So what you do is you knit to where you would normally use the cable needle, and then you pull 2 stitches off. So you kind of catch 1 stitch. You go sort of behind the stitch you want, or in front of the stitch you want. Put the 2nd stitch on the right needle, and then catch the other stitch with the left needle. And then you sort of flip them. And so it is terrifying. So
is that something you came up with? Or
no, this is a Very Pink Knits thing.
Very Pink Knits,
yeah.
Okay.
And she was doing it like 3...
Lord bless Stacy.
She was doing it like 3 things. And it's one of those things that it's very... Like, I get, and when you're like, this is so much easier than using a cable needle. But it also brings out this primal fear because all of a sudden I've got drop stitches that are just hanging out there. And of course what I do is I seize up and get really tense and start pulling, and that makes it worse. So it's not so bad. There's, so when you do cabling, you bring the stitch to the front or the back. And so you kind of reverse the cable stitch. And so for one of the stitches, you are picking up the stitch in the back, and then you pick up the extra stitch is in the front. So it's actually really easy to get to. But the other way around, it's really hard to get to.
Yeah. So
anyway, it's fun, and it's one of those things that like I know that eventually it'll be really easy. And I've got part of it, I've got the front leading or the back leading decrease. I mean, cable, not a problem, but everything, the other one was just a little terrifying.
Can you grab it again? I just wanted to show the yarn.
Oh yeah, and so this is, we were looking for, so it's one of those things that is, we were trying to figure out yarn that would look really good on this, so we found in the stash, this is
another yarn we found in the stash after organizing our stash.
So it's Dye Monkey Yarns, and it's called Boogie Woogie Monkey.
That's her base.
And it's called Alex.
Yeah, Alex is the colorway.
And it is...
like that. Don't like that.
Like that.
Like that. It's a little...
It's just
close,
yeah, it's just a very pretty blue color. It's
and I had messaged Jessie. I was interested in getting a sock blank, and she had custom dyed a sock blank for me, and she and then I had seen this yarn in her shop, and I was like, I want to add that to my order.
Yeah, and
so she I bought both of them at the same time. I didn't have anything planned for it.
Yeah,
but it's her. I don't know what's... It's 115 grams, 250 yards. I don't know if that's... I
think it's worsted.
Worsted or... Yeah. So it's 100% merino.
Yeah. So it's really pretty. This will be to come. This is one of the ones that I'm waiting for the 14-inch...
The needle, yeah.
Cable. So, yay! So yeah, that's kind of what I'm working on. Again, it's kind of exciting because this shawl has been... what I've been really working on for a long time, and so it's cool to have it done.
All right, so I don't think we have anything else to talk about, and I am starving to death.
Good, we should make dinner.
We're making dinner in our Instant Pot tonight. For those of you who have Instant Pot, those of you that are Instant Pot fans out there, we love our Instant Pot. And we are making Greek lemon chicken and rice soup in our Instant Pot.
More importantly, I think I've got one more end to woven, and I can block this.
Oh, really? You've got them all done?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. I think so. I'll double check, but it looks like it. So, and yeah, this will get enormous when I block it, I think.
Yeah.
It was already huge, so.
All right, well, thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will be back again